Hey y'all, it's Kim. So let me get this off the screen. This will be video number 2 of Bill Clinton's deposition with the GOP Oversight Committee. I think they're the majority, but they also have Democrats in there. If you go and look at the website, it's like bipartisan. Anyway, but let's go ahead and let him talk. My face is swollen. I had to go to the dentist yesterday and have some dental work done, so I'm bruised and swelled up. So I probably won't do a whole lot of talking today. But anyway, let's go ahead and play it. Let's see. Like I said, a video or hour 2 for starting. So I forgot my speaker. Hopefully the volume's good. Give it a second. Of course.
We're good. Good morning, Mr. President. How are you?
Fine.
I want to first start out by asking you, have you ever been or traveled on, or has Huma Abedin ever traveled on Epstein's plane?
If you know. I don't know. She might have taken one of the trips with us, but I don't know.
Okay, so have you flown on a plane with her?
Several times.
Several times?
Can you say, have you flown on a plane, any plane?
The Lolita Express.
And what is that when you say that?
Have you flown on the Lolita Express with Jeffrey?
I don't know what that is.
Have you flown on Jeffrey Epstein's plane
Duh.
with Huma Abedin?
Like they didn't know that.
Answer again. I don't remember, but I have phoned. She's been sort of a part of our family for a very long time. So
Did she Hillary's advisor or something?
The Middle East, which I don't think I ever took a plane ride with Jeffrey Epstein, but she would typically go when I did.
So have you traveled with both of them together?
Excuse me, both of whom, Congressman?
Of course. Have you traveled with Jeffrey Epstein and Huma Abedin together?
I do not know.
Okay, thank you. If the staff can please pass out EFTA 0021628 and the rest of the documents I have them print regarding passports to the President and Council.
This will be Exhibit 12.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, if you look at the passport page, at the bottom of the document should show the EFTA number. It's 0021628.
Yeah.
There's a name on there. Would you be able to read that name to me?
Can you read the name?
Excuse me, Congressman.
Yes.
Will you ask me if you've ever seen the document before?
Yes. Well, this is evidence, and so I wanted to ask him specifically. So it's from the DOJ document release, right?
I understand, but he may not have seen it, or he may have seen it.
No, I've never
Calm
seen
down.
it. It looks like a passport.
Okay. Can you tell me the name that's listed on the passport?
Excuse me, he's never seen this document. Would you just read the name, please?
Yes. The name is Marius Robert.
Marius Robert, yeah.
Are you familiar with that name at all?
No,
Okay. Would you be able to identify the individual in the photo?
it looks like Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. The reason I asked you about this specifically is because I do believe that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence operative. And so this was a passport that was actually entered in and released by the Department of Justice, but this was an FBI filing. It was found in his safe, if you will. So it's an alias. So the reason I ask you that is because given your nature and position, I'm wondering if you were essentially targeted by a honeypot operation and or by intelligence to gather information. So that's why I asked you that question.
Well,
Mr. President, does not have a question.
I am. Is there a question?
No. You can ask a question.
Well, I'll be getting to the Lord, but that's the reason I asked that. Okay, my next question for you is, have you ever had contact with an individual by the name of Shantae Davies?
I believe Shantae that's a distinctive name, and so I think that was the name of one of his flight attendants.
Okay. She's been described on being on a 2002 Africa trip and providing massages. Was she or any other young female on that trip underage at that time?
Not that I'm aware of.
Did you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever visit Epstein's Little St. James Island?
No,
We have Virginia Guffrey, who has testified seeing you on the island with two young girls. Did this occur at all? Okay. Why do you think she would have made that claim?
Objection, speculation, you can't possibly.
Have you ever met her or any other Epstein associated underage girl?
not to my knowledge.
In Epstein's 2016 deposition unsealed in the DOJ files, he refused to answer if you were accompanied by two young women who were approximately 18 years old on the island. Were any such women potentially underage with you? I know you've stated that you were not there, but did you have any interaction with the said
Objection to
individuals?
the foundation of the question. He's already stated he was not on the island. You're now asking about a claim of the Fifth Amendment by Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay. Would the staff be able, go ahead.
If the witness doesn't know, the witness is welcome to say he doesn't know.
No, but he actually answered the question.
Yeah, he
when
answered
she
the
asked
question,
that it
but
wasn't
not-
on the island, so
not
then she was
instructed.
asked.
Okay. Do you know an individual by the name of Sarah Ransom?
I don't believe so.
Okay. There have obviously been claims made about you, and I do not believe that these claims are credible. The reason I am asking you specifically about that name is because that individual stated that you were in sex tapes, okay? It was unfounded and it was discredited. But given the politicization of this entire investigation, do you believe that it would be appropriate of members of this committee to bring in witnesses, whether it is about you or another president, that have unfounded allegations regarding sexual claims of misconduct?
That's not a decision for me to make.
As a recommendation in regards to avoiding trafficking, et cetera, and bringing justice for the victims, would you make that recommendation to this committee?
I think
Just so I understand the question, you're saying if the witness has unfounded claims?
Well, I don't believe that Sarah Ransom's claims about the president are founded. I don't believe that there's sex tapes with you, President Clinton.
No, I'm just asking about your question. Is it, you're not asking if somebody with plausible claims should be brought in. You're asking if somebody with implausible, unfounded claims.
Correct, because these claims were found to be unfounded by investigators.
So are you asking his opinion?
Yes, because we are trying to figure out in regards to being able to further this investigation and whether or not we are going to be interviewing other individuals regarding sex trafficking, avoiding in the future. I know that you and your wife have both been big on this issue. So I'm asking you, would you think that it would be appropriate that this committee bring in someone like Sarah Ransom, who has unfounded claims that have been debunked in this investigation? It's
He
a
answered
simple
the question about, he answered this question when you first asked it, then when he said that it wasn't for him to make those decisions.
Well, I'm asking for his recommendation to the committee and follow up. It's not a gotcha question. This is obviously a very serious investigation.
Well, first of all, I recommend that you have on your staff a prosecutor who's had a lot of experience in this, dealing with these cases. Normally, it's not a good idea to bring in a witness that you know is lying.
Okay, thank you for that. My last questions for you are you familiar with anyone by the name of Adriana Ross?
I don't think so.
How about Sarah Kellen?
I don't think so.
Okay. Would you recommend that this committee bring in individuals that were listed as trafficking minors? They were listed as co-conspirators and then given plea deals.
I don't know enough about it, but I think you should do whatever you think will strengthen the ability of the United States not to have this happen again.
Okay. Is it possible and in your opinion, that you and or your wife were targeted as a means of an intelligence gathering operation
Object the
by
form of the
Jeffrey Epstein
question.
and Louis Maxwell?
Object the form of the question. No objection to if he knows that they were targeted.
I believe that's what she asked.
No, she said, is it possible? So she's asking him to speculate instead of asking him, does
Do
he
you
know?
know, do you know if you were targeted at any point?
I don't, but I don't. I'd sort of be surprised, but I'm not. I don't know.
Okay. All right, Chairman Comer, I think that fills my time. I just want to say thank you very much, President Clinton, for coming in. And I do understand that this has been politicized, but again, I will state on record and I will state this to the press that I don't believe that Sarah Kellen's claims against you were valid. Thank you.
Mr. President, before we left off, I asked you to characterize your relationship with Mr. Epstein. I asked you if you considered him to be a friend. You said you did not. Is that right?
I said we were friendly and we had a cordial relations, but I didn't know him well enough. And because we had almost no contact beyond what I described.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 13. This is base marked House Oversight 000126. And while it's being passed out, this is a letter from a book of letters, which
Yeah,
is
it's his 50th birthday.
Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday. Questions?
Yep.
Mr. President, do you recognize this
I do.
letter? And for the record, does this appear to be your handwriting and
It
signature?
is.
And why did you write this letter?
Why did I? Because I was requested to contribute a nice letter for his birthday book.
And who asked you to write the letter?
And no, I don't remember.
Would Miss Maxwell have
I
asked
don't
you?
know. I think someone on my staff asked me.
Now, there's a word that our committee has not been able to identify, and in our defense, the Wall Street Journal has not been able to
Imagine
identify.
being on his staff.
Can you please read the letter for the record?
Yes. It's reassuring, isn't it? To have lasted so long across all the years of learning and knowing, adventures and errors, and still to have your childlike curiosity, the drive to make a difference, and the solace of friends. Not a bad letter.
And because we haven't been able to identify that word until now, what did you
Which
mean?
word was it that you could not?
Solace, you couldn't,
No, errors.
errors. What
Where
did
do you
I
refer-
mean? Anybody who's lived 50 years and done anything has made mistakes as well as progress and done things.
But for the record, you weren't referring to errors in judgment that Mr. Epstein had related to his inappropriate activities involving young
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about that.
Did you ever see the birthday book compiled together?
I don't think so.
And you mentioned previously you were friendly with Mr. Epstein. Did you typically send birthday wishes to individuals that you didn't consider to be friends though?
No, I send out literally hundreds and hundreds of birthday letters every year to people that have been my friends. But if somebody's doing a special, I've sent birthday letters of congratulations to people I've met 2 or 3 times, or their 70th birthday, their 80th birthday, their 50th wedding anniversary. I do it. And I told you, I thought Epstein was interesting and curious. So I wrote a letter that I thought reflected that.
Can you elaborate on what made him interesting and curious?
No more than I've already said.
At this time, I'd like to introduce what will be marked as Majority Exhibit 14. And while it's being handed out, this is an article published by the New York Times on August 5th, 2025, entitled "A Look Inside Epstein's Manhattan Lair." And once you receive the article, I will just direct your attention to page 10.
Where is that?
No, we haven't brought it yet. Thank you very much.
I think I have a video of that. It's
And
quite
we're
like-
specifically looking at a framed photo on a wooden table alongside multiple other framed photos. And we're focusing on the photo in the middle, which appears to have a golden frame.
Where is that?
Two more pages. Right there.
Page with the Pope.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Page 10, that we're wrong.
Page 10. Mr. President, do you recognize yourself in this photo?
I do.
And it appears that the man on the right of the photo is Jeffrey Epstein, is that correct?
I think so.
Have you seen this photograph before today?
Only in this picture.
And for the record, what is happening in this photo?
He's smiling at me. Looks like he's talking to me.
This is one of the friendly interactions that you were describing earlier.
Yes.
And can you describe the circumstances surrounding this photo?
Are you asking if he recalls?
I do not. I have no idea. I see Richard Branston in the back and
Okay.
other people. But I don't remember anything about it.
You appear to be comfortable with Mr. Epstein in this photo. Would you disagree with
So
that characterization?
You're creating a characterization. He's already responded to your question about the picture.
I'm comfortable with all of it. I'm comfortable here. I'm not happy, but I'm comfortable. And my conscience is clear. That helps.
Oh my goodness. Oh, this is the point where he's looking to the photos and smiling about all the memories, I guess.
Okay.
Just trying to take it away from him. No
Mr. President, we
reminiscing.
have about 5 minutes remaining in the majority's first hour. So I just want to ask you some questions related to the crimes committed by Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein sexually abuse or assault young women or girls?
No,
Did you ever witness Mr. Epstein receive massages from young women or girls?
not that I recall.
Did Mr. Epstein ever discuss sexual acts of any kind with you?
No,
Did you ever have any sexual contact with young women or girls in the presence of Epstein or Maxwell?
no,
Did you ever have sexual contact with any young woman or girl introduced to you by Epstein or Maxwell?
no,
Mr. President, with the benefit of hindsight, were there things you witnessed that could have suggested that Epstein was trafficking and sexually abusing young women and girls?
I do not believe so.
We will go off the record.
We can go back on the record. Mr. President, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is, and I'll be doing most of the questioning for the minority today. First, I want to thank you for your long and distinguished service to this country. I also want to thank you for your time today. We appreciate it. Before we get to questions, I'd like to take a few minutes and highlight some context that we think is relevant for today's conversation. President Trump had a long-standing personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. That is not a secret. It is well documented, and I think the public and everyone in Congress understands that at this point. President Trump does not like talking about his long-standing personal relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I think we've all seen that as well. On November 12th of last year, Oversight Committee Democrats released emails that were obtained from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. In one email from 2011, Epstein said to Ghislaine Maxwell that President Trump was, quote, that dog that hasn't barked, and that an unnamed victim, quote, spent hours at my house with him. In another email from 2019, Epstein wrote that, quote, of course, he, referring to President Trump, knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. I'd like to enter as Minority Exhibit A, Oversight Democrats press release from November 12th, 2025, titled House Oversight Committee Releases Jeffrey Epstein Email Correspondence Raising Questions About White House Cover-Up of Epstein Files. And that includes both the emails that I just mentioned. There was a fair amount of public attention on those emails, and 2 days later, President Trump asked the Department of Justice to investigate Epstein's relationships with yourself, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, and JP Morgan Chase. You are, of course, a former Democratic president of the United States. Notably, President Trump did not include any Republicans in his demands. Later that day, Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on social media that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York would comply with President Trump's directive and take the lead on the investigation. I would like to enter as Minority Exhibit B, Attorney General Bondi's post on X, which also includes President Trump's post on Truth Social. It is well understood that you had a personal relationship with Mr. Epstein, and we will talk about that today, but the events I just described color our perspective on the conversation. It appears as if you and other Democratic figures have been targeted by President Donald Trump in an attempt to distract the American people from his own long-standing relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And if that were true, it would not be the first time that President Trump has targeted his political enemies under the guise of law enforcement. This deposition is occurring in the context of unprecedented weaponization of the Department of Justice
Oh, good Lord.
by
Really?
Donald Trump. You may have a perspective on this of your own, so before we get started, I just want to give you the opportunity to share any thoughts you might have on that subject.
Weaponization.
I think I'll let
ass.
you ask me some questions and then maybe at the end I'll say something.
That sounds fine. Thank you. I'd like to start our conversation with a few foundational questions so we can just set the record straight from the very beginning. With respect to your relationship with Mr. Epstein, did you ever, at any point during your interactions with Jeffrey Epstein, know about the sexual abuse that he was committing against minors and young women?
No,
Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Jeffrey Epstein?
no,
With respect to your relationship with Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, did you ever, at any point during your interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell, know about the sexual abuse that she committed and facilitated against minors and young women?
no,
Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
no,
Have you ever, at any point, visited Jeffrey Epstein's former estate on Little St. James Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
no,
In February of last year, Attorney General Pam Bondi said on Fox News that you traveled on Mr. Epstein's plane, quote, because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. I will ask you, did you fly on Mr. Epstein's plane because it had a bed where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls?
no.
Are there any other accusations that have been made against you with respect to Mr. Epstein that you'd like to address before we get started with some chronological questions?
Well, I think you pretty well covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask a series of chronological questions. I'd like to try to create one clear chronological record. Some of that might be repetitive from what you've already talked about. I will try to keep that to a minimum. All of these questions are from a long time ago. If you don't recall anything about what I'm asking, just let me know. Starting with events before and during your presidency, the earliest known link that we're aware of between yourself and Mr. Epstein is that he made a pair of campaign contributions to you in 1992. There was a $1,000 contribution to your presidential election committee in January 1992, and another $1,000 in June to the Clinton Corps General Election Compliance Fund. I imagine a lot of folks donated $1,000 to your campaign. Do you have any specific recollection or knowledge of those particular contributions?
No, I think this is the first time I've ever known that.
Thank you. That takes us into your time as president. You were elected in November of 1992 and inaugurated in January of 1993. Mr. Epstein visited the White House a number of times while you were in office. Our understanding is that Mr. Epstein visited the White House 17 times between 1993 and 1995. I am not going to walk you through each of those visits. I'm just going to break them into categories. I think first, with respect to the only Epstein visit where it is publicly known that you either met Mr. Epstein or had some interaction, was the White House Historical Association reception that you mentioned earlier. I know there's a photograph that you mentioned of yourself and Mr. Epstein meeting. Am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell at that event?
I don't.
With respect to the other 16 times that Mr. Epstein came and went, and that spanned 1993 to 1995, am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein any of those times?
No, I don't think I did. And I don't know who he saw.
It's been publicly reported that in March of 1995, there was a fundraiser in Palm Beach that you attended and that Mr. Epstein also attended. Other guests reportedly included Jimmy Buffett and investor Ron Perlman, who may have hosted the event at his home. Do you have any specific recollection of that event?
I remember going there in 1995. I have now seen the picture with Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Buffett. I recognize Jimmy Buffett. He was a longtime friend of mine. He performed for me twice in my second term as president. And we were friends for the rest of his life. But that's it. I don't know if he knew Mr. Epstein. I had no idea what that picture was. I didn't remember it.
And so is it right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein?
No, I don't.
At that fundraiser, just for the transfer?
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce as Minority Exhibit C, an article from the Daily Beast titled, "Jeffrey Epstein Visited Clinton White House Multiple Times in Early 90s. That article is dated July 24th, 2019. Once you receive it, I'll just direct you to page 8 of the article that you're about to receive.
Okay.
I'll give you a moment to look that note over, and then I'll read the relevant portion into the record. Page 8.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So you can see here that on April 27th, 1995, Lynn Forrester, now Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, sounds like served on a few committees or boards under your administration, wrote you a note. I'll just read part of that note out loud. Dear Mr. President, it was a pleasure to see you recently at Senator Kennedy's house. There was too much to discuss and too little time. Using my 15 seconds of access to discuss Jeffrey Epstein and currency stabilization, I neglected to talk to you about a topic near and dear to my heart, namely affirmative action and the future. And that's the end of the relevant portion. I just wanted to ask whether you have any specific recollection of this note or of your conversation with Ms. Forrester.
I don't.
As far as you can remember, at this point in the middle of 1995, how would you have characterized your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
Would be virtually non-existent.
Do you recall any other interactions that occurred between yourself and Mr. Epstein during your time in office that have not already been mentioned today?
No. I think I've told you everything I know.
In October of 1999, toward the end of your time in office, we know that Epstein contributed $20,000 to the First Lady's joint fundraising account. Would you have any memory or knowledge of that particular contribution?
No, is that for a White House related thing?
No, the joint fundraising means the Senate.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Okay, I am going to move to the years after your presidency. We'll do this in chronological order as well. Your second term ended in January of 2001. In December of 2001, the New York Post reported that you and Miss Maxwell had dinner at a New York City restaurant called Nello's. Do you have any specific recollection of that dinner?
No. How do I know? I don't. Nor do I remember the article.
So moving into 2002, you touched on this in the previous round. It sounds like there were two meetings. We don't have exact dates for them, but one of them was at your office in Harlem with Mr. Epstein. The other was at Mr. Epstein's home in New York City. Could you just repeat for us, what do you recall about each meeting, maybe starting with your office in Harlem?
I just remember that sometime in 2002, I think, he paid a visit, and he had become, I think it was either after or just before we started the flights. But he obviously was going to be a serious supporter of the foundation, and I think he paid a visit. I was flattered he wanted to see my office. I liked it.
And then the meeting at his home in New York City. Did I hear you say in the previous hour that Mr. Epstein was not actually there?
I said that when I wrote my book and talked about it, and when I've talked about it in the past, I realized I talked as if he were there, and of course he was there. And I started trying to picture a nice man on the staff that showed me around. And now I'm just being honest, I don't remember whether he was there or not. He could have been there, but I don't remember.
As far as you can recall, would the purpose of that meeting also have been related to Mr. Epstein's support of your work through his plane, for example?
Yeah, the reason we went by, regardless of who was there, was that my staff we finished an event in New York City that at a place, and Lord knows who may have done since then. I don't remember what it was for, but it was in New York City. And my staff, they said, we're only a couple blocks from Epstein's house. It's a converted elementary school. He's very proud of it. And I think, it'd be a nice thing to do since it's early. You can just go by and take a look at it. So that's what we did.
Do you recall seeing anything or anyone in his home that was suspicious or reflected abnormally young women or girls?
No, the only people I saw there that night were staff. And him if he was there, I just don't remember.
Do you recall seeing any images of young girls or women at Epstein's home?
No.
So moving to some of the travel on Mr. Epstein's plane, and we have specific dates for a lot of that. I'd like to move through that chronology of known trips, just one at a time in order. To begin, flight logs indicate that on February 9th of 2002, and we'll give you the logs, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from Miami to Westchester County, New York, with Epstein, Maxwell, and some others. And you mentioned this flight in the previous round as well. I will introduce that flight log as Minority Exhibit D. We'll give you a moment to receive that and take a look at it.
Is this one page?
It is one page, exactly. And the flight in question, the leftmost column has the number 9 on it, and you can see your name at the beginning in one of the middle columns.
Excuse me, at the top, it says 15. Are you talking about a date? Could you just?
Yeah, the one on February 9th.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I do see it.
Great. I'll just ask some specific questions. As an initial question, and we can see it here, you had a Secret Service detail that traveled with you after you left office, presumably still does. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And did that detail accompany you on all trips that you took with Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
For this trip from Miami to Westchester, first, just do you recall the circumstances of the trip?
No, I was down there and I was coming home. I don't remember why I was down there.
In terms of who was present on the flight, and we'll do this exercise with the other trips as well, are you able to make out from the initials here, maybe who is who? In other words, I can see your name and I can see 4 Secret Service. And then from there, we have 2 males, 1 female, I think Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell, and then SK and AP. Do you have any recollection of who any of those folks may have been?
No. I just don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't. And the initials, they don't mean anything to me.
This isn't a record from yours. This is their record.
Yeah.
In February in 2002, so the same month as this flight, it was reported that you and Miss Maxwell were seated together at some type of charity gala in New York. I don't know what the charity was or where exactly the event occurred. Do you have any recollection of what I'm referring to?
Could you state the date again, sir?
In the same month, February 2002, and I don't have an exact date.
What was it reported?
Simply that you and Ms. Maxwell were seated together at a charity gala in New York.
Wow. I have no recollection of it, but it could have happened.
Heading into March of 2002, so the following month, we have a series of international travel. And the first of those trips indicates that on March 19th and 21st of 2002, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from JFK to London and back with Mr. Epstein, Ms. Maxwell, and some others. We will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit E and go through the same exercise. And that's the 19th and the 21st.
The 19th and the 21st?
Yes. Down toward the bottom of the page.
Oh, that's pretty.
Was this a flight to London?
Yes.
Yeah, this says we had 10 Secret Service agents.
So I guess just to start with, do you recall the circumstances or the reason for this trip?
This was when?
This was March of 2002.
I don't, but keep in mind, there was a lot of stuff going on. India, in the late January, 4 days after I left office, had a horrible earthquake. And lots of people died. And I called the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Vajpayee, who belongs to the current leader's party, but was much less uber nationalist. And I asked him if I could help. And he said, yes. He said, I have the money and organization to fix the big cities, but not the smaller towns. And we need schools, we need hospitals, we need all this stuff rebuilt. Will you help? So that's the first thing I undertook to do, even before the AIDS thing, after I left the White House. So I was there. So by March of 2002, the next year, we were still working on that. And then the South Asian tsunami hit in December. So I was doing all this stuff and also trying to get set up at home too. So that's why it sounds unusual for me to have 10 Secret Service agents, but I must have been going to several stops.
And is it the same for you when you look at some of these names? I can make out the name Naomi Campbell. Do you have any recollection of Naomi Campbell being on this flight?
Naomi, when we went to Europe once, I think she went on one. She was a friend of Doug's, and that's what I remember. Let me see. Yep. And Jeffrey, Ghislaine. I don't know who the other people are.
Looks like Doug Band is listed there, and that.
Yeah, he's there, but SK, I don't know who that is.
Okay, great. Thank you.
SK could be that Sarah Kellen.
Moving to May 2002, just 2 months after the one we just looked at, flight logs show a series of flights around Asia. Got 5 flights, including Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and Thailand. I'll introduce the flight logs for that trip. Just take a look at it together as Minority Exhibit F. Still need it, right?
We do need it. Thank you. Oh, great. Thank you very much. You said
So
what?
those are from the 22nd to the 25th.
Let me just highlight that. 22nd. And you're saying each one till the 25th?
Yeah, so the first one lists the former president, and then 4 in a row after that lists same as above. So it's the same group of folks for about 5 flights.
Yep.
There. So same question, this trip to Asia, do you have a recollection of the circumstances, how the trip came about?
Yeah, that was 2002, right?
Yes.
So and when was the tsunami? Was it at the end of 2002 or the end of 2001?
That I'm not sure of.
Just to the best of your memory, you have to share what you know.
Anyway, to the best of my memory, this was a trip to raise funds to organize our health network in Asia, which was basically designed to deal with AIDS, but also was I was heavily involved in the reconstruction of India after the earthquake there. And then was asked to do it by the Prime Minister and later by the UN. So I was involved with that.
And do you have any recollection of who these individuals on the flight were? For example, there are a few female names. I think one is Janice, one is Jessica. When you look at the log, do you have any recollection of who's who?
No.
Do
She
you,
may have been a flight attendant, I don't know.
do you have any recollection of the flights themselves?
Of this
Not the
particular
flights
flight?
themselves.
This group of flights.
I remember we made several stops and you mentioned them. We're going there, but that's all of them.
To the best of your recollection, whether with respect to the flights or the trip itself, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
No.
We then have logs showing 2 flights in July of 2002, and I will introduce those as Minority Exhibit G. Give you a moment to receive those.
What was the prior one?
The prior one would have been F.
And that was the May 2002 flight one.
Who's that?
No, I put F on that, but I thought that was, sorry, so you're,
No, no problem. It should be May 2002. I have as F as in Frank.
okay, I'm not sure what this one was. Okay, got it. I'm gonna get the labels later.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry about that.
Oh, no, no. So this one will be G, and it's July of 2002, specifically on July 13th.
Oh, sorry. Next one. I'll get that one too.
Gives you a moment
Wait,
to
does
look
this
at
say
it.
where we're going?
Yeah, it's on the 13th, and these flights are from Morocco to Portugal, and then Portugal to JFK. And our understanding, just from public reporting, is that this may have been part of a trip to Morocco to attend the King of Morocco's wedding.
And you're asking him about the legs that he's on.
This
Correct,
was-
exactly.
This is July of
Is that when his
2022.
wedding was?
Sorry?
Is that when he got married?
It may have been. I think that's my
July.
question for you, is whether you recall that this trip.
I recall going to his wedding.
Okay, do you recall approximately when that wedding would have been?
No, but it was a long time ago. I don't know if this was it. But I did go to Morocco more than once.
Do you recall attending the King of Morocco's wedding?
Absolutely, I did.
Do you recall whether Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell also attended that wedding?
I don't. I remember, I think Chelsea went with me. And I remember because my late mother-in-law loved Morocco, and Chelsea was there with her once and she wanted to go. So we went, and it was really nice. I was very close to the king's father, and I marched in his funeral when he died. And so they had this wedding and we were invited, and I very much wanted to go. Hillary was working and didn't go. Chelsea did, and I think Huma was with us too. I think
There's been some reporting that you may have invited Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell to the King's wedding. It sounds like, but please you tell me, do you have any specific recollection of that?
I don't remember.
Do you have any specific recollection of these 2 flights, which may or may not have been part of the King's wedding? They're from Morocco to Portugal and Portugal to JFK. Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell were on the flights as well as yourself.
When I was coming home,
He's just asking you about these two legs, and he's asking you, do you have any recollection of these two legs of the flight?
No, I remember the wedding very well and all the stuff that happened. That's all. I don't remember the coming or the going.
Thank you. In September of that year, we have the trip that I think a lot of folks are aware of. This is a trip to Africa in September of 2002. The trip started at JFK, ended in London, stopped in Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, Mozambique, and South Africa. Some high-profile figures were on board, including actor Kevin Spacey and comedian Chris Tucker, as well as Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell. I will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit H. I'll give you a moment to receive them.
Thank you. H. Thank you very much.
So this is a two-sided document, and the flights are the bottom half of the first page and one flight at the top of the second page.
Starting on the 21st?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll just ask you generally before we look at the log specifically. What is your recollection of how this trip to Africa came about?
Well, this is where most of our work was going to be done. And what month is this?
This is, I believe, September of 2002.
So, and the countries we were going to represent places where we had operations. Like Mozambique, for example, had a big AIDS problem, and we were trying to help. And there was so that's what I know. Well, we in South Africa, we spent quite a bit of time because I wanted to go see Mandela. He was still in good shape then, and we did things together. And then Charlene Hunter-Galt, who was one of the Black women that integrated the University of Georgia and became then a very well-known international television commentator for PBS. And her husband, Ron, had moved down to South Africa. And they were longtime friends of mine. We had celebrated the 150th birthday of Arkansas together in Little Rock. We were longtime friends. And so we went to visit them, and she threw a big cookout for us. And it was a funny time. Chris Tucker, Kevin Spacey imitated me.
So a lot of these names on the logs are hard to make out. Do you have any specific recollection of who was on board those flights?
He's not asking you to review and try and see if you can read their names. He's asking you what your recollection is.
It says that Shante Davis was, and she worked for Jeffrey.
And I think it was discussed in the previous round, but that well-known photograph of yourself and Miss Davies, what is your recollection of the extent of your interactions with Miss Davies on that trip?
Where were we?
In Africa.
No, where was the photograph?
I think it was at the airport.
Oh,
on the way to.
That's it. I mean, we had a good relationship, but it was entirely profit. I never had any personal contact with her. That's what you imply.
And am I right that while on that trip, whether the trip or the flights, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. We have a series of questions from some of the members in the minority. And so I'll be calling them up as we go through. And thank you. Just want to also get a thank you for being here and answering all the questions. We appreciate that and for your service. Just two clarifying questions. One that was asked during the Republican hour, and I just want to have you reiterate it for the record. Either during or after your presidency, were you ever made aware of Jeffrey Epstein having any kind of relationship, directly or indirectly, with a
Donald
foreign
Trump.
intelligence agency
I figured
or
Donald Trump.
service? And I asked because we've received a lot of interest and communication about that topic, because I want to give you a chance to answer that again if there's any.
No, I wasn't, and I understood why now when you showed me the passport, but I wasn't, I didn't know anything about that.
Thank you. And then second, of course, this deposition also sets a pretty new precedent, I think, which is something that we've been discussing and folks in, across the country are discussing as well. We're thankful that you're here. We believe in the minority that President Trump should also answer this committee's questions. He's someone that is mentioned almost more than any other person beside Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein documents. And so to get more information for this investigation, was wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
That's for you to decide, but he did know him well, and I once had a brief discussion with him about it.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer. With that, I'm going to go to Mr. Walkinshaw, and we'll go down a series of questions.
Oh, I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein. He just didn't. He just said we were friends. And then we had a falling out over a land deal, property deal. That's all.
Thank you.
Could I ask very briefly, Mr. President,
Sure.
if you recall, what were the circumstances of that conversation? Or at least let's start with, when did the conversation occur?
It was on his golf course. And there were a couple of years there when Joe Torre, who had been the manager of the Yankees and was a friend, and had a tournament, a charity golf tournament, called appropriately for this investigation, the Safe at Home Foundation. And it was designed to combat domestic violence, of which Joe Torre had been a victim as a child. And so I wanted to support it. And so Donald Trump gave him the golf course in New York to have a tournament on, and I played in it a couple of times. And the day I was there, he would typically, Donald Trump would come out and play a few holes with us. And he somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, you know, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal. And he said, I'm sorry it happened. That's all.
Do you recall whether President Trump was the first one to affirmatively bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, but I'd be shocked if I did. I just don't do that.
Do you recall whether President Trump elaborated at all on the great times that he had with Jeffrey Epstein?
No, and at the time, I didn't put any, sexual spin on it.
And as far as you recall, President Trump characterized the nature of the ending of their friendship as being solely due to the real estate bidding.
That's what he said.
Thank you.
But I didn't think much about it at the time. And, it was 2 minutes and then we were gone.
As far as you recall, have you had any other conversations with President Trump related to Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
And your best recollection, if you have one, of the year that this conversation occurred?
Maybe 2002 or 2003.
Thank you.
But,
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I just want to focus again on Ghislaine Maxwell.
First, I'll ask you just to reiterate, did you ever at any point during your interactions with Ms. Maxwell know about the sexual abuse she committed and facilitated against minors?
It's
and
already
women?
asked that. or
When did you
answered.
learn that she had engaged in crimes against girls and young women?
When the first evidence came out, when was it in 2019?
And have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
Didn't
You're
answer
aware that
question.
she was convicted of crimes as we discussed, and you're aware that she's currently incarcerated as a result of her federal conviction.
Yes.
Maxwell received a 20-year sentence for her crimes. Are you aware that she has repeatedly called on President Trump to grant her clemency, and that she has said that you and President Trump are not guilty of any wrongdoing with respect to Epstein?
I know that now, yes.
In your opinion, does she deserve or should she be granted clemency by President Trump?
I don't think I should comment on that. I don't know anything about President Trump other than what I've already told you. And I thought that was a mistake to pardon everybody in the January 6th case. And I think that this thing was really hard for me when it came out because we had been friendly with Glenn. I was sad, but it was terrible what she did. And she has to be punished. Somebody besides me should make a decision on what it is. So she got 20 years and there it is.
Okay. Mr. President, on July 24th, 2025, the Deputy Attorney General and President Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, conducted a closed-door interview of Ms. Maxwell at her then low-security prison. On August 1st, 2025, just a few days after that interview, she was transferred to a lower security prison where she's afforded a list of amenities, personalized meals, playtime with puppies, a transfer that I think most Americans agree is inconsistent with a very serious crime she was convicted of. Do you have any opinion on her transfer to that lower security prison and the amenities she's been granted? Did it seem strange to you when you learned of that?
I think you're in a better position to find out what happened than I am.
Okay. When you were President of the United States, was it common for your Deputy Attorney General to directly conduct interviews of witnesses and or federal inmates?
You were there.
You have to testify what you know.
He's
what you
asking,
recall.
he's asking, did you ever send a Deputy Attorney General to?
To the best of my knowledge, I did not do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop it here because that's about an hour, a little over an hour. But anyway, you heard what he said about Trump, according to what his knowledge is, obviously. I mean, his interactions with him. But we'll see if we'll ever get anybody to be in handcuffs over this Epstein stuff. It's just ridiculous. But I will talk to y'all later. Have a good day. See ya. Bye.